Uh, Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for this special segment of Cinema Crusaders on Comic Crusaders. I am very honored to be able to talk to the director of Living with Chucky. She's also a writer and actress, none other than Kyra Elise Gardner. How are you doing, Kyra?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. I love this documentary. I'm looking so forward to talking to you. I guess the first question I have for you is that um, this documentary is so well put together. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about it because you built suspense in it. You really have that horror eye, I think. I think you may have inherited or built it over your childhood with the building of Chucky. And then the little cool touches with the videotapes and the CDs with the different colored nails. That was just brilliant. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that and those touches of the documentary because they added so much.
Oh, thank you. That means so much to me. Because losing my mind making it. No, I think I've kind of always had that opinion as long as there's something on screen, do whatever you can to enhance it. In film school, if there was something that I could do during my credits sequence, whether it's animated or little pictures here and there that tells more of the story, I was so about it. So I love that you picked up on the nail changes. Adding to the color palette. They were $8 press-ons from Rite Aid. But that was kind of the intention of just anything that could add to it. The intention with the VHS tapes, I actually was very inspired by the Ted Bundy tapes that are out on Netflix. They have
Okay.
this beautiful title sequence with the tape recorder, and I was watching that over COVID, and I thought, oh, what a great way. I don't know why I envisioned a VHS tape. And I was like, what a great way to show how long the franchise has gone on from VHSs to now Blu-ray. I thought that was a good way to kind of give us a visual break between each film, but also demonstrate something in the process. And as well as, the behind the scenes interviews, I was trying to, make it a little bit more interesting than cutting back to BTS stuff that is out there online already. So, throwing it on a TV from the 80s when we talk about Child's Play 1 and 2, all the way up to, an iPhone X when we get to, the first season and Jennifer Tilly's reporting live from set, just trying to show the transition of time as well in these little devices when I could to break up the talking heads was kind of the thought process there.
I thought it came across perfectly. I think you really did communicate that. And it was just so interesting to watch. I mean, it was interesting what you had in there, but it was also interesting to enjoy as a viewer. And you don't always get that with the documentary. So thank you for that. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
So for all of our viewers, a little bit about you, because I do know, your dad was involved with Chucky for a long time doing things. And then, and it's called Living with Chucky because you grew up with Chucky. I mean, you met Chucky at a young age, and I thought that was such a cute story. And I know your sister is involved with more of the special effects side. So you as a director, why did you get in directing? Do you have that eye for directing? Have you always wanted to? Because I know there was one image where you borrowed a camera and were taking pictures with the camera and things like that. I think that was you. But I thought that was just so cute. I was kind of curious how you got to that point of wanting to be a director and a writer,
Yeah. My dad definitely had an influence while growing up. I had a sort of a fantastical reality that wasn't real. Monsters and aliens were just things in our house or at work that came home. But I actually originally wanted to I originally wanted to be actually a veterinarian.
Okay.
Discovered I was allergic to most every animal ever while volunteering at a wildlife rehabilitation center, and then wanted to be a nurse since I shouldn't be allergic to people, and I volunteered at my local hospital and my small town that I grew up, and it just didn't seem to click and be something that I was super passionate about. And so my dad and my mom kind of set me aside and were like, you're really creative. You always opt to make videos for school. You take all the, I was in AP art as well with drawing and things like that. And so I was really lucky to have parents that were supportive and pushed me to kind of pursue it because I was kind of avoiding being like my parents at the time as a teenager. And I took a film class at USC over a summer and I directed my first short film and I was like, you can get paid to direct. That's a career. Because all I had known was the makeup trailer growing up with my dad, but I didn't realize how much of an influence that alone had, because my favorite part about being in the makeup trailer was getting these intimate moments one-on-one with actors of just who they are as people and their creative thought processes. And I loved that. And that's basically, you know, the main thing of directing is connecting with actors in other ways. And so I loved that aspect of it. So I had no idea that that really shaped what I wanted to do as a career, because I loved the acting part of it, but also I love SFX and practical effects. And so it's kind of like I grew up then figuring out I want to direct exactly what my dad does. I want to do horror. I want to do things like that. And so it was a cool roundabout moment. And as far as like an eye, I've always kind of just been like, I would do it this way, and this should be like that. Why did they do this? So maybe that's the mom side of myself is I think my mom and dad genetics came together and out came a director.
Amazing, amazing. I do want to ask you one last question about Living with Chucky before we finish up, but I have to ask this question. Phoebe, the doll of Phoebe, yeah. Where did that come from? I want to know, did your dad do it, or did somebody else do it, or?
She is my brainchild that I had a thought in the shower of. That's what I say when my mind isn't based in reality. It really isn't. I'm just like, oh, I'll make a script and the main character is a fish puppet. And everybody else in school is like, what? And I'm like, I can do it. I'm like, I know how you do it. I know the people, you know, I've watched my dad make all these other things. And so, yes, I did. I had an idea for what I wanted her to look like and this and that. And I talked to my dad about it. And so his team helped create Phoebe the puppet, which was the main character for my senior thesis at film school. And, you know, it's funny how it correlates to Chucky, because she was operated basically the same way Chucky is today. Mm-hmm. Rods out her arms and the head, and then mechanics for her eyes and mouth. Very simplified, because she was basically a moving sausage with no neck, but, you know.
I loved it. I love what I saw. You know, I haven't been able to watch the whole thing, but I did love what I you know, I researched and everything. So going to Living Chucky, then, you know, you're talking to a lot of the actors and actresses who have been on it. I just was curious if you could give us a little behind the scenes. Were there any moments that we should really want the uncut version, the Kyra Elise Gardner's director's cut of the documentary? I mean, the stories were so interesting and it made you want so much more. And I was wondering, what is your next project? What is the next thing you would like to work on? So,
oh goodness, is that so? That's like a two-parter.
Yeah, question? I'm sorry.
No, okay. I have ADHD, so I want to make sure I address each. Sure. Yeah, I mean, oh gosh, the director's cut could easily be like 4 hours. Do I want to edit that necessarily? Not, not, you know, I'm not dying, but yes, there were so many moments, you know, Brad, you know, going more into, you know, being away from home as an actor. It didn't necessarily correlate, because his time away from Fiona with the Chucky films is less so than my dad, actually, because he just does the voiceover, but it still correlates because he was still an actor and had that experience. But him really diving into those experiences and Fiona coming into the film industry, I definitely wanted to talk about that more. It was just really trying to stay focused and, you know, kind of pick and choose my pieces. So those moments, and then, you know, our guest interviews like Lynn Shay had so much to say about the acting process of, you know, acting in horror films. That was so interesting. She actually cried in her interview, which was so lovely. And I couldn't put that in because it kind of side tangented the narrative a little bit, but it was so wonderful. As well as like my dad. Oh my God, there are so many things with him that I wanted to include in selfishly. And then as far as where I want to go, I am hopefully transferring into the narrative side of horror and getting away from documentaries. That's not to say that I'm not done. You know, I shot and directed the making of the Foo Fighters movie Studio 666 that came out this year.
Cool,
so hopefully that gets to be seen by everybody at some point. And yeah, I'm currently writing my first narrative feature horror that is a period piece that takes place in the 60s.
Oh, very cool. Looking forward to that. I really want to see that. And I have to say that what you were talking about with the interviews with the families was really touching. I mean, I've got 3 kids of my own, and I think that the emotional side really came through. I think you did an amazing job with that and could really feel it. And I love the interviews with Fiona and Brad, and then you and your dad. You could really feel it. It was very, very, very touching. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel like I did my job then if I made you emotional. So
Absolutely.
yay. If I make you cry, I'm happy.
I think it was a wonderful documentary. So
Oh,
I know that I was only had 10 minutes of time, so I don't want to take up past my time, but thank you so much for being with us and talking about your film.
oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
So